Let's get you up to speed on everything that's been happening in the world of sports since we last spoke, starting with my part of the world. And guys, there's a lot to cover, lots to mention. In England, for example, some of the biggest news to emerge from Liverpool in the last few weeks is that Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk are staying after the pair both signed new 2-year deals at the club. You could say they're statement signings, really, because these two players maybe just showing they believe in the Arne Slot project. And staying with Liverpool, they are just one win away from winning the Premier League at the time of recording. They need just that solo victory from their final 5 games to secure their 20th league title, which would be a joint record in English football alongside their rivals, Manchester United. And actually, Liverpool could be crowned champions without even playing, should Arsenal lose to Palace tonight. Another rival of the Red Devils will face them once again next season, with Leeds as well as Burnley, both promoted to the Premier League on Easter Monday, with the latter beating Sheffield United to confirm the top 2 in the Championship. Todd, you can't quickly put the cap on and take it off again.
I'm going to wear it for the episode now.
I was so happy for the Clarets. Can I just say that? I watched that
Yeah.
whole game against Sheffield, and it was such an exciting game. I wish I was at Turf more, but congratulations to them. I mean, they were up, they were down, they're back up again. So to me, it shows the resilience. The new coach they brought in, Alan Pace,
Scott
his whole
Parker.
crew, Scott Parker and the whole crew, I just think did a masterful job. They weren't even at the top, and I almost want to say they did themselves a solid because they didn't have the pressure of trying to get promoted throughout so much of the season because they came on so late, and then they just at the wire they're across the line.
Yeah, fantastic all round. And let's not forget their incredible defensive ability. They've only conceded 15 goals so far, with just a couple of games left in the Championship, which is really quite remarkable. Staying with football, a quick nod to Edward Russell, who isn't with us today, but his beloved Arsenal side beat Real Madrid over the 2 legs in their Champions League quarter-final after a 2-1 victory at the Bernabeu to secure what turned out to be a 5-1 aggregate win. So they're in good spirits going into their semi-finals, although they do have to play PSG. So not the easiest last 4 contender to face as such. Let's bring you some golf news. Rory McIlroy has finally completed the career Grand Slam with victory at the Masters. The Northern Irishman claimed the famous green jacket in a dramatic playoff with Justin Rose, beating him then. And as soon as that 3-foot putt went in and he won the title, he dropped into, he collapsed, I should say, on the floor, didn't he? Weeping tears of joy. It was fantastic. And for context, McIlroy had won every other major by the end of 2014, threw away a 4-shot lead in the final round of the 2011 Masters. So this has been a long time coming. And Kate, I saw you giving a little celebration for McIlroy there.
I'm a golfer myself, nowhere near the standard of anyone that we ever talk about, obviously, but I know how frustrating the game is. You guys know as well, and you know how far he's come to try and get this 4th, this Masters. The amount of ups and downs he went through felt like I was playing Monopoly or on a really bad roller coaster, because he went down, he went up, he had to go to the final hole, he had an opportunity to win it with a putt and he missed the putt, then going to the playoff. And then, I just thought his resilience and steely nerve to stay in control through that playoff and to finally finish it on a repeat of that 18th hole was incredible. I don't think I've watched any golf tournament that has come down to the wire and meant so much to a winner. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Also, a shout out to Poppy McIlroy, who apparently is the best putter on the entire Masters course that whole week.
This is his little daughter. You're absolutely right to pick her out. But Todd, you know what was fascinating? Obviously, loads of people would have stayed up late in Europe to watch Rory finally get his hands on that green jacket. And coming into that final round, he was alongside Bryson DeChambeau. And I really thought the Augusta crowd was going to be quite partisan and really backing DeChambeau. But it felt like there were a lot of McIlroy fans out there.
No, I think you're exactly right, Natalie. I think everyone felt the pressure that was on Rory's shoulders of being so close for so long. And for me, that was the most compelling golf I have seen in 20 years. You have to go back to the Tiger Woods heydays. And to Kate's point, it was a roller coaster. It was up, it was down. He was going to win it. He's going to throw it away. And it was just that drama of sport. And I think that's what makes sport so good. Natalie, to your point, when he dropped to his knees on that sacred sod and wept like a child after getting what seemed like an impossible dream, and he got it done. And for him to have had 4 double bogeys and still won the Masters, I was like, he couldn't have made it easy on the rest of us. He had to do it this way in typical Rory fashion, but I was cheering for him. I was so happy for him, and he just seems like such a great guy, and I just think he earned it. So now he joins that rare field of only 6 that have won the Grand Slam of all the events, and I think it's got to be one of the hardest things to accomplish is being in that club. I mean, you think of tennis winning the Grand Slam, but I would give the nod to golf being that much harder.
Yeah, it certainly is difficult. And as you say, only now he's one of 6 to have done it. Goes to show how hard it really is to do. Just quickly to round up some of the other news from over here as such, Spanish rider Marc Marquez has continued his remarkable start to the new MotoGP season by claiming a 3rd win in 4 races, this time at the Qatar Grand Prix. The only race he didn't win was the one that he crashed out of whilst leading by a huge margin. He's also claimed every single pole position and every fastest lap this season, heads into his home race, which is the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend, but faces some real stiff competition from the rider who's won the last 3 editions of this event, which happens to be Francesco Bagnaia. And at the weekend, the streets of the English capital will be pounded by thousands of runners for the London Marathon, so stay tuned for that. But we will be denied 2 of the best in the women's elite race, as Kenya's world record holder Ruth Chepngetich has pulled out, along with the defending champion and compatriot Perez Jepchirchir, with injuries, mental and physical issues being given as the reasons for their withdrawal. So disappointment that we won't see 2 of the best runners in that London Marathon, but still always one to look out for. It's a great event, and lots of those amateur competitors raising money for charity. So it's fabulous.
Will we see you pounding the pavement, Nat?
Yeah.
Do I look like I've been training for a marathon? I don't think so. No, I am not a good runner. So I never say never, but at this present moment, it's a no from me, Kate.
Okay, maybe next season, maybe next year. We'll look forward to it. Moving over to Southeast Asia and Australia, big news in the A-League women's, guys. Melbourne City women have etched their names into football history books by becoming the first team in the A-League to complete a full home and away season, 23 rounds, undefeated. And the team, dubbed the Invincibles, have won the premiership now, and they look to double their trophy haul with the championship finals coming up over the next 2 weeks. Has that ever been done in another football league that either of you know of?
Well, the Arsenal men team did it. They were the Invincibles. You've got to go back to the early 2000s under Arsene Wenger when they achieved that feat. But it's simply incredible to do that. To not take your eye off the ball as such in any game, especially when you get towards the end and you know you've completed the job, but to still go through. And Bayer Leverkusen under Xavi Alonso not so long ago, of course, when they won the title, they did it too. But it's a rare feat, certainly.
And surely the pressure just builds every game that you win. The pressure becomes don't lose as that is approaching and the more it's talked about. I just think it's outstanding. And that team, the Melbourne City women, watch them in the Asian Women's Champions League. Their finals are coming up in May. I'll be going over to China for it. It'll be very exciting. The first ever Asian Women's Champions League, guys, and $1 million US on the line for the winner, which is massive in women's football. So outstanding. Turning our attention to the track, and Oscar Piastri has moved into #1 spot in the F1, and it is the first time an Australian has led the Drivers' Championship for 15 years, following his manager Mark Webber in 2010. Big news for the F1.
Really big news, isn't it? And when I consider some of the, let's say, the English drivers out there, Lewis Hamilton, I mean, he bemoaned that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, calling it horrible, had no explanation as to lack of pace and that his car was experiencing. And a bit of a blow for Lewis Hamilton. That switch to Ferrari, not quite working out for him. But yeah, Piastri going really, really well. And obviously a shout out to the McLaren pair, because Lando Norris is second currently in the standings too.
Do you guys think it's a good thing, though, that F1 is seeing this, I don't say a renaissance of parity? I mean, it was Max Verstappen's show, it seemed like forever, or Lewis Hamilton, and now the new names that are getting sprinkled in there, I love it. I love that there's different winners. I love that there's new names are being put at the top. I mean, everyone should share the money, and I don't feel too bad for Lewis Hamilton and his red Ferrari, because I think he's getting paid very handsomely.
I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay, Todd. I think it's awesome. I think, it broadens the appeal. And certainly I know that a lot
Yeah.
of Aussies are watching it now that we have someone in the mix for the first time since Mark Webber. It's a fascinating thing to watch. Speaking of Aussies in the Aussie rules, defending premiers, the Brisbane Lions are shaping up for back-to-back flags. They started the season with 5 wins in a row, guys. They only just got one loss over Easter. That was Collingwood that brought them the loss. And of course, Collingwood and Brisbane faced off 2 years ago in the grand final, and they've had a rivalry since. So it looks like it's going to be the Magpies and the Lions again in 2025 as the teams to beat. And then earlier this month, and we'll go into this later on, a former Wallaby and a 2-time Rugby World Cup player, Jordan Pataya, completed an impressive code switch to the American NFL. He signed with the LA Chargers 1 month out from the NFL draft. It's one of many of the fascinating storylines and off-season moves that we're going to chat with Jason Bell with shortly.
I love the idea of these international players coming to the NFL. And I think it just shows not necessarily just inclusion, but I think it shows the NFL's willingness to go, we will go anywhere to find the best athletes possible that will help us win. We aren't confined to the 50 states. We will go anywhere in the world to find anyone, because I feel like Australia's contribution has been fantastic in the NFL, especially with kickers. They know how to kick.
Kickers and O-lineman Todd Harris. It turns out that Jordan Mailata's pretty good at doing that,
Yes.
Super Bowl winner. But you're right, the kickers are the big thing. Obviously, the Aussie rules is where most of them are bred. We grow up kicking a football rather than throwing one, like in the American NFL. So a lot of our kickers, I mean, a lot of just normal kind of Aussie rules guys are able to kick a lot further than the standard of Americans growing up. That gets them into college, and you see it across the colleges. The championship had 2 Australian kickers on both sides. So it'll be fascinating as we watch that generation grow up. I think it's only a recent thing that college players are coming over from Australia. But as we see that develop and that generation grow, I think we're going to see more and more in the NFL.
Natalie, why are not more Premier League players coming over? I feel like when I watched some of the goalkeepers,
Yeah.
they would be
Yeah.
amazing field goal kickers. I mean, they could tee it up
Totally.
from 70 yards out and say, I have no problem putting that through.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It makes perfect sense. But obviously, with Pataya being a rugby player, we've had a few rugby players go out there. Christian Wade is a name that springs to mind. Lewis Rees Zammit not so long ago as well
Right.
was out there playing and trying to break into the NFL. It's not been easy for those particular players that I've
No.
mentioned. You know, they haven't lasted the course. But it's just great actually that you can see this switch happening. I know a lot of Gaelic football players try and make something of it in America as well. So I just love the fact that players can be adaptable and can be versatile and make the switches into different sports. It's fascinating.
All right, well, here in the Americas, and I'll keep this brief because we want to get to Jason Bell and we're going to talk about the NFL draft, but the NBA playoffs are underway and already some teams look unbeatable while others are in danger of being bounced earlier than their payroll might suggest. Plus, the NHL playoffs are going on and they are running for the quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. Will this be a year that the Canadian team takes the cup? I'm sure everyone's watching Alexander Ovechkin, still at 39, getting it done. I don't know how he does it. Guys, he broke his leg this year and then went on and beat Wayne Gretzky's record, and he's still going. So he's kind of like the Energizer Bunny for the NHL. So you've got the NBA draft, you've got the NHL playoffs, then you've got the NFL draft, which is coming up shortly, and then, of course, you've got the baseball season underway as well. And not to forget soccer, or football, as we like to say. Could we be in for, just wrap your heads around this, could we be in for a 64-team FIFA World Cup in 2030? I mean, the thought of it, 64 teams. The next edition here in the U.S. will be the first with 48 in 2026, but South America's governing body, CONMEBOL, has suggested a further expansion to mark the competition's 100-year anniversary, with the first matches set to be hosted in Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. So you guys come from great football nations as well. The thought of 64 teams, what is that bracket going to look like?
Is there a sheet of paper large enough for Todd Harris's bracket in the 64-team World Cup? I don't think there is. I don't think so. That's gonna be crazy, Todd. I don't
Yeah,
I don't
too
think
much.
I can't handle it. I mean, the World Cup is enough viewing enough as it is, and you've just mentioned all
Right.
the other sports we've got going on at the same time. We've got a strict sporting schedule, and adding number of doubling the number of teams is just not going to work for me. What about you, Nat?
No, it's a no for me. It's all
Yeah.
about money, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's what this is all centering on. Look, I love the idea of giving, let's say, lesser nations the chance of playing on a world
Right.
stage, but and so for that reason, I think yeah, it's great. But at the same time, I just don't think we need as many games as this is going to end up being. Plus,
Mm.
also, you might end up with hammerings, and nobody wants to see a minnow
No.
go into a World Cup and being hammered every time that they're kicking a ball. So, yeah, I understand it's a lovely idea, but let's just shelve that one.
Yeah, you leave that for the qualification tournaments. And we do
Yes.
already have
Yeah.
many qualification tournaments where those teams get an opportunity. And even then, there are hammerings, as you say, Natalie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hammerings is a great word, by the way. Yeah, I think we're all agreed we're going to stick with the same format that we currently have. World Cup, FIFA, cool idea, but won't last.